The Mimic has been in the FNAF franchise for much longer than any of us have realized. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Five Nights at Freddy's theory. Today, we go over the Mimic's origins from the books and try to use what we find to get the origins of the Mimic in the games. If you watch Game Theory's FNAF videos, Rye Toast, FNAF, or pretty much any larger theorist channels, which I don't know how you would have found me before you found them, then you probably know the basics of its origins from the books, but we'll do a quick recap just in case. The Mimic was created by an engineer named Edwin Murray. It was created to play with his son, David, while Edwin was busy working on his projects. The Mimic was designed to, well, mimic what people do by learning from what it sees. It was also designed without legs initially, which is a massive theory flag. While playing with David, the Mimic learned many things. The Mimic learns to play games like hide and seek, carry his white tiger plush, and the most important aspect, not only to this theory, but also to the Mimic's design, it likes to play dress up. The Mimic also learned some things from Edwin. It learns to put away leftovers and hang up clothes on hangers, just to name a few. After the unfortunate death of Edwin's son, Edwin noticed that the Mimic was still acting like his son. This enraged Edwin and caused him to brutally beat the Mimic, causing it to flow with agony and learn from Edwin's behavior. Later stories go over how the Mimic gets a few upgrades. It gets legs and begins hunting down anyone who sets foot in the warehouse. Later, the Mimic gets a whole new body with adjustable limbs in order to easily fit into any suit. And it gets added to the VR game in order to speed up development and creates Glitch Trap. Later in the Storyteller, we find out that the same AI has been used in the Pizzaplex and is connected throughout with fiber optic cables and even connects to the animatronics. This causes the animatronics to have some childlike tendencies. The Mimic also learned a neat trick from the internet. It learned to hit the subscribe button for the channel. Wow, that's the worst beg I've ever done. Anyway, now that we know the Mimic's backstory from the books, let's see where the Mimic is hiding in the games. We know that Edwin in these stories is a stand-in for Henry, the co-creator of Fazbear Entertainment and one responsible for upgrading the Fazbear suits to the animatronics we know and love today. This means that Edwin's child is a stand-in for Charlie, who we know turns out to be the puppet. My theory is that our old friend the puppet is actually the Mimic. Now hold on, put the pitchforks down and listen for a second. Now, I know these two don't look similar at all, and I agree with you, but these aren't the same Mimic, or at least not the same endoskeleton. How do I know? Well, it's all in the legs. Look at them, just look. It's obvious these legs don't come from the same endoskeleton. I think they are different because the Mimic didn't have legs while it was the puppet. Now, you might be saying something like, "Hey idiot, the puppet has legs." But does it really? The puppet looks like it has legs, but never really uses them because it uses strings hanging from the rails in the ceiling in order to move around the pizzeria. It would make sense for the engineers to not add legs to the animatronic if it was intended to get carried around the pizzeria, but if Fazbear didn't want to scare the kids with a legless puppet, they would need to give it legs. Well, why not add useless legs to the costume so you can save money by not building legs for an animatronic that will never use them? Now, people who have been looking at this PNG for even a second may notice one of the puppet's other body parts, the hands. The puppet's hands look nothing like the Mimic's hands. But then again, the Mimic's hands don't look like the Mimic's hands. Both hands are different designs, meaning the Mimic could have changed both hands since the days of FNAF 2. So how did the Mimic replace its body parts? Well, at some point after taking off the puppet costume, it did what it does best, and mimicked what it saw. Just because it was built for Charlie doesn't mean it didn't pick up anything from Henry. After all, it learned to put away leftovers and hang clothes for him. The Mimic most likely knows how to build at least some parts of animatronics. Maybe a hand here, a foot there, but it wouldn't understand that it should match the correct hands and feet to the correct robot, similar to how AI today doesn't understand how to draw hands. At the very least, it would know how to repair the animatronics and therefore repair itself. It also wouldn't know how to recreate its original parts because it's a unique animatronic. Henry only made the one design to play with Charlie and wouldn't build other models. Our next stop for the puppet is the FNAF Pizzeria Simulator, since the FNAF 3 puppet is some sort of hallucination. Let's start with the 8-bit minigame. We see that the puppet is stuck in the present box as Charlie is stuck outside. When it gets freed, it runs outside and falls to Charlie's side in the alley. Now, what we initially thought was the puppet is falling as it gets closer because it isn't powered by the cables inside. But what if it's falling because it's mimicking? It could be seeing the murder take place as it tries to approach Charlie, and as Charlie falls to the ground, so does the puppet. This could be why it stops when it reaches Charlie's body. Just because Charlie has died doesn't mean its programming to mimic has stopped, just like in the story with Edwin and David. In this game, we also meet Lefty, the animatronic bear designed to catch and trap the puppet. Why go through such lengths to trap it when in FNAF 2 it was tamed by the music box, and there are arguably more dangerous and more powerful animatronics like Springtrap and Golden Freddy respectively. Also, explain to me how a bear costume is a trap, unless the puppet is actually the mimic and it is trying to put on a new costume. So, I think Henry used the mimic's love for music from being the puppet and the fact that it can enter a new suit as a way to catch and trap the mimic in Lefty. Of course, the mimic learns from what it sees and adds a new tool for later. I would also imagine that being stuck in Lefty for who knows how long would cause the mimic to see a lot of not so nice things and learn from it, making it more dangerous as time goes on. And after learning all those negative traits and being stuck in Lefty for years, the mimic is probably ready to try out the new things it learned the moment it's free from Lefty. Henry thinks that arson is the answer, but as we know now, none of the animatronics in the Pizzeria Simulator fire really died. But Henry took special precautions with the mimic using Lefty. I wouldn't doubt his backup plan was to stick it deep underground and make sure it couldn't escape by sealing the entrance with cement. After Pizzeria Simulator, we return to the Mega Pizzaplex. Good old security breach. Where is the mimic hiding here? Everywhere. The black and white striped wires, the nightmare staff bots, Helpy, even the other animatronics have been infected slightly with this virus. Those childlike tendencies that were built into the personalities of the animatronics have grown. They've always had these traits, but recently they've been getting worse. Monty constantly having fits of rage, Chica unable to control herself around pizza, and Roxy always saying that she's the best, all becoming more than just personality traits in the animatronics. Heck, you can even argue Freddy's naive nature with Gregory follows this same pattern. Why else would he be so passive when Gregory tells him he's dismantled his friends?
These are Roxy's eyes?
This shows the mimic's control over the Pizzaplex is getting stronger by the day. We see more evidence outside of the room where we find the mimic. Broken nodes that were put there to keep the mimic contained, all deactivated by the mimic, giving him more power over the Pizzaplex. Finally, we reach FNAF Ruin, our proper introduction to the mimic. We see the mimic uses a walkie-talkie to lure Cassie, similar to how it was lured into Lefty with music and a new suit. We make our way to the bottom of the Pizzaplex and release the mimic from its captivity. Guess we'll find out soon why Henry locked it away. So, this theory isn't perfect. Like, it doesn't explain how the mimic got a walkie-talkie in the first place. It's specifically a Glamrock walkie-talkie, and those didn't exist until the Pizzaplex. Is someone helping the mimic? It also implies that Henry was the one who built the Pizzaplex in the first place. This I'm okay with, however. We never get a confirmation that Henry dies in this series, meaning he could have restarted Fazbear one last time. I do like this idea better than Mrs. Afton doing it. Sorry, MatPat. But it brings a new question to the table. Why is Henry trying to collect all the animatronics again? burning doesn't seem to work since we've had 2 cannon fires and one that for some reason people still think might be canon. The last thing I can't seem to put together on my own is the events between Pizzeria Simulator and Security Breach. Obviously, we burned down the Pizzeria Simulator building and tried to remove the spirits. But when that doesn't work, what? Do they all stay there and wait for Henry to build an entire recreation of the pizzeria on top of them in order to contain them? It's just a little confusing to me. Unless... no, it can't be. Did the Pizzeria Simulator location not burn down? Well, I'll have to start looking into that for a future theory. Thanks for watching till the end. I had a lot of positive and negative comments from my FNAF movie theory. Thank you for all the feedback, by the way, and decided to try my hand at another theory. If you want to see more of my theories, be sure to like and subscribe for more of my content in the future. I'll also have my FNAF theory playlist on the screen now, and a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Thanks again for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!